Okay, Andre, we're up and running then eventually.
Yeah,
So, what we're going to be doing in this conversation is talking about books. And
yeah,
it's always very interesting to speak about a book with another person to see
yeah,
what they took from it and, to debate things and to see how we understood it. And
yeah,
so, last time we spoke, we were speaking about Machiavelli's The Prince, which is, or well, it's a classic and it is very, very well renowned, and it's about power and control and how to get it and how to use it. So
yeah,
we've just finished that book now, so we'll be speaking about that
yeah,
a little bit. Then you've started reading Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil,
yeah,
and I've read that also.
yeah,
And then I thought that you recommended this book to me, but you just said that you didn't. And so this is
no,
The Ego and His Own by Max Stirner. So I don't
mm,
remember who recommended this book to me, but last time you were speaking about a book, you did recommend one book, and you said you bought it from eBay. So it must have been
yeah,
that book that you recommended. But when I went on to look for it on lots of book stores, it was very expensive. But you got a real good deal for about €7 or something.
yeah. That was on Lulu, and
Yeah,
that
I looked
was.
on Lulu. Never had it. Um,
Oh, okay. I could find it right away. You know.
Oh, well, if you can find it, send me a link and I'll buy it if it's like
Yeah,
a 7. So, okay, that's one thing. But for people that are listening to this video, they may find the subject matter interesting and how we discuss these things. I always
yeah.
love listening to people like um, goodness me, um, Michael Desarian. You know Michael
Mm.
Desarian?
I just recognized the name, but not more than that.
Yeah. Is it Michael Tesarian or yeah, I think it is Tesarian. Anyway, he's a big intellectual. He's Irish and he's read all different sorts of stuff. And in his conversations, in his podcast, he's speaking about books and things like that. And even though maybe I'm not familiar with what he's speaking about, it's very, very interesting to listen to intellectuals speak.
Yeah,
So I very much enjoy that. So let's start then with you speaking about Machiavelli's The Prince.
yeah. What I think about Machiavelli, the prince, I mean, his father was like a lawyer, and he was also educated in that way. So he had probably good look into the human psychology, and then he wrote this book uh, as a gift, I think it was,
Yeah.
and gave it to the Pope, I think.
Oh, didn't he give it to the Prince?
The Prince, yeah, yeah, the Prince,
Because he wanted
Caesarea
to get
Borea,
favour with the monarchy, and so he
yeah,
wanted to advise the monarchy how to run properly, things like that. And
yeah,
I think Machiavelli was about in about 1300s in Italy, wasn't he?
yeah, 1400 or
Right.
1500, something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And my thought about wanting to read it was like, okay, I've gone through these. Like, I met a certain narcissist, and I thought, yeah, okay, let's take a look into a narcissist's mind a little bit, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And apparently, this is not necessarily how to be a full-blown narcissist, but it's still very deceptive tactics at times that is prescribed in like the prince. But he's very pragmatic, so it's if you are a prince, you need to do that. Certainly don't need to be hated by the people, because that's the worst. It's better than to be hated by the other monarchs than it is to be hated by the people, you know.
Yes.
So at least you need to have a certain amount of love from the people, but you certainly need to have a lot of fear as well.
Yeah, and so we spoke last time, and I said, well, all monarchs, they have to lead by the crook and the flail.
Yeah,
These things that the Egyptian pharaohs have, or particularly Tutankhamun, but I think all the pharaohs had some description of the crook, which is the shepherd's crook, and the flail, which is a staff with like three rods on it, which is used for thrashing people, for beating people. Now, one of the people today is a guy called Robert Greene, and he wrote a book which is very famous
yeah,
because I think 50 Cent read it, and then he promoted it through the rapping fraternity because he recognized what Robert Greene was writing about, the desire for power and the control. 50 Cent recognized that power structure in the music industry. And
yeah,
so he gave that book to all of his fellow rappers, and they used it like their Bible. And then, Robert Greene and 50 Cent went on to write another book together.
yeah,
So Robert Greene wrote 49 Rules to Power or something like that, didn't he?
yeah. 48, I think. Yeah,
48 rules to power, and what you need to do to obtain power. Now, the Machiavelli thesis is kind of like you do whatever it takes, basically. You can deploy all different sorts of machinations, but the most important thing not to do is to lose favor with the people, because ultimately that will lead to your demise. That will lead to your head on a spike. So you have to rule with the crook and the flail. You have to administer punishment. You have to be pretty fierce, but it has to be reasonable. You've got to appeal to the masses' reasoning, because if they can't find reasoning in your administration, then you're not going to last.
yeah. Well, what I think about, let's see where to begin. Yeah, I actually talked to a girl at the gym a while back, and I don't often hear like very interesting analysis of things, but we talked a little bit about Nietzsche and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said like she did appreciate Nietzsche, but she thought like, well, it could be misinterpreted by some teenage boy who have read Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power combined with some Andrew Tate, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Andrew Tate, he's a modern guru for young men, it appears.
Yeah,
He's become very, very successful, and he's very well known. He's very forthcoming. He's very opinionated. He's very brash,
yeah,
uh, but he's very intelligent, and he gets away with whatever he says. But yeah, when we look into the whole power thing, um, it all comes down to what parameters we are all individually prepared to cross or not. And it's down to our own morals, what tactics we will deploy to obtain power. Um, some of us, we don't want to overstretch the uh, parameters of obtaining power at a cost of losing our own morality, because
yeah,
it's more important to some of us to keep our morality and to know what's fair, to know what's just, and to have a conscience about things. But
yeah,
what we've discovered in the world forever, but more and more noticeable today, is that we see the world leaders, they don't have any of that morality. They don't have any of the empathy for the people. They have complete and utter contempt, and they do whatever they can get away with. And it was only like 20 years ago whereby if the politicians did anything wrong and they were caught fucking a goat or a prostitute, or if they fucked up in some major way, then they would absolutely resign. And if they didn't resign, they'd be forced to resign. But now the politicians, they don't have any shame, and nobody even pushes them to resign. It's like they're bulletproof. They will just stay in power like dictators. And so
Yeah.
there's something very, very wrong in the current regimes around the world, because they've lost their moral standpoint. So they're very Machiavellian, aren't they?
Yeah, and that is also when the upwards direction towards like a godly force is lost, then everything gets allowed to do, and that
Yes.
is really the problem. Because they are not um, connected to anything like that.
Yeah, so it's a spiritual thing really, because I mean Jordan Peterson, he's very very tuned into this. He's all for self empowerment, but no way under any circumstances would you go against the laws of what God stipulated, that we shouldn't deceive, we shouldn't steal, we shouldn't murder, we shouldn't commit adultery. We should honor, our family and friends and colleagues and all this sort of stuff. So there is some people fighting to try to make amendments to try and turn this runaway curve. Trump's doing very fine. He's turning it around. Musk is in the team, and he seems to be morally inclined. Then we've got Peterson, and then in British politics we've got the leader of the Reform Party, Nigel Farage, who is, from what we can all gather, premised in a good moral standpoint, and he wants to bring, the biblical morals back. This is why people are pushing for religion. This is why so many people are turning to religion, because the world's lost direction, and if we don't have any higher being to look towards, to follow, to honor, then the sky is the limit to our corruption, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and I think yeah, one can always meet things from different directions and so on, but I think it's a very conducive narrative to have like the hierarchical structure in a way where the different caste is ordered under like the like son or god, say so to speak,
The
or
divine.
the divine force, where if it's Christianity or if it's something else that reaches towards that height,
Yeah.
um, and also all traditional rulership has been like the king and the aristocracy and so on, and then we have everything that is like the structure, like we have the workers in the bottom and
Yeah.
then all the others here,
Yeah.
it's
All the tears.
yeah, and I think that is it's possible that that is would be optimal in um, in the best of the world, so to speak, because also I can see that, well, democracy, it allows for many dumb things
Mhm.
also, in a way.
Well, yeah, it has to be liberal, doesn't it? It has to be
Yeah,
liberal, so it has to allow the whole myriad of human failings. And
yeah,
it's only through our virtue en masse that we have a moral standpoint and a reasonable intellect that we're going to bring our failings into line, so to speak. We're going to tether our failings. We're going to tether our beast inside. We're going to reckon with our shadow and all these sort of things. And so this is why it's always been advisable to have two genuine parties in opposition. But what's happened in very recent times, well, I don't know, 20, 30 years, the two parties have amalgamated into one, and there's only the facade of the challenging or the conflict, because they all go to the same clubs, they all operate under the same policies, two wings to the same bird. That's what everybody knows these days. In the old
Yeah.
days, when I was growing up, British politics wasn't like that. We had
Mm.
two genuine different parties, and they were very, very different, the Liberals and the Conservatives. And, we can see from what America's saying, they've completely changed around their policy structures and their beliefs and adherence within those parties, because the Liberals are now like the Republicans, and the Republicans are more like the Liberals. They've completely changed. You see, the Liberals now, they're proclaiming they're the Liberal, but they are the biggest tyrants that America's ever known. And, people have become very, very concerned about the Liberal Party, because they're almost bordering on fascism, wanting to close down all the freedoms of speech and, control all the courts and everything. And even now, Donald Trump, he's trying to bring the bureaucrats into line, but all the bent, corrupt judges, they're all taking backhanders, and they're fighting Trump. And Trump's like, what are you supposed to do when the Supreme Courts are all taking backhanders? It's fucking riddled with corruption. So what Trump wants to do, he wants to diminish the bureaucracy and the government massively, because he just thinks that there's too many Ponzi's in there. There's too many people that are not pulling their weight, not doing an important job or anything like that. So vastly wants to reduce the structure of it and to
Yeah.
weed out the corruption. And that's Elon Musk's job, right? With
Yeah.
GOGE. And so they're weeding out the massive corruption, which it seems like there's lots of people in America hell bent on sending America into liquidation.
Mm.
So, are you involved in much American politics? Do you watch any of it, Andre?
To an extent, absolutely, I do.
Yeah,
I know nothing about what is happening in Sweden. It's like I sent you a documentary from Sweden. You saw the gang criminality
yeah,
and such a thing.
yeah,
I mean, that's totally scumbags,
yeah.
It's such a victim mentality. So it was hard for me to watch. And I
Yeah,
thought,
well,
yeah,
with your country, because they've allowed in so many of these immigrants, and now they've all turned to gangs, and they've got AK-47s and all this different sorts of stuff, and they're killing people in public places every day in Sweden, every day. And so the whole world has said Sweden's lost. Sweden's lost. It's a cesspool. But they're also
yeah,
saying that about Britain, because we've got this fuckhead of a politician, Keir Starmer, and he's the biggest liberalist, fucking bent politician that we've probably ever known. And Elon Musk is writing scathing fucking emails to him. Trump's doing the same. Lots of leaders around the world want our politician, our prime minister, gone, because he's one motherfucking tyrant. And it's kind of like a last vestige of this liberal system, because liberalism is fucking over now. But you've still got some politicians hanging on. You've got Macron, and you've got fucking Starmer, and I don't know, others in the 27, 28 countries in Europe. But liberalism has had its heyday, and now it's in decline. And Sweden will fall. Sweden will fall because the people will get
yeah,
so fucking sick of it. They're going to revolt in a very big way.
yeah. Yeah, there are so many things to Sweden. The I don't even know where to begin. Uh, yeah, you know, the gangs are running around with weapons, uh, illegal weapons, and many people get shot by illegal weapons. But there's one gunman in Sweden that goes wacko and have legal weapons.
Right.
Which is are allowed to have.
And then they want to ban all the legal weapons.
Yeah, or at least that certain weapon that he used, or
Yeah.
a similar weapon to that one. And the thing about that is that we have like about um, 2 million legal weapons in Sweden,
Right.
which only one weapon of those 2 million weapons are used illegally a year
Right.
maximum.
Right.
So, and those 2 million weapons are owned by 500,000 hunters.
Right.
So it's law-abiding citizens who have those weapons.
Hmm.
So it's preposterous,
Yeah, and they don't do anything about the gangs, and that's the
No.
thing. Look, in El Salvador,
Yeah.
the president of El Salvador, he decided that he had enough of these scumbag drug fucking overlords and all the rest of it. And he decided that he's going to build brand new fucking prisons and he's going to arrest every single one of those motherfuckers or shoot them dead. And so he's got now thousands and thousands of these tattooed head to fucking toe drug cartel motherfuckers, and they're all doing many years in jail. And he's absolutely cleaned up about 100% of them. And the ones that are not in jail, they've fled the country because he's doing so well. If they can do it in El Salvador with such limited resources, then why the fuck can't we do it in the West? The reason why we're not doing it is because it isn't wanted to be done by certain powers. They are highly intent on destroying the sovereignty of all these European countries. Trump said enough is enough. When we get our next um, inauguration of our prime minister, which will be Nigel Farage, then he will say enough. And the countries like Macron's gonna fall. He's in such a massive scandal now because people like Candace Owens are blowing the lid off his wife Brigitte, who was born a fucking boy. And he's had a sex change, so he's a fucking man, and you can't find any information about Macron or Brigitte, but Candice Owens has done an absolute wonderful job, and she's found the odd photo here and there, and people verifying that Brigitte Macron is a fucking man.
Yeah.
Born a man. What a scandal! What a scandal! And Macron, he came from nowhere. He had no fucking qualifications and he's got no track record of anything. He just appeared in the most powerful of places. And all the people around who had worked really hard for those positions, they were going, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Because he knew a Rothschild, right?
Yeah.
Rothschild made sure that he got all the fucking positions. And what Candice Owens and people like her are now saying, and Paul and I were speaking about this 10 years ago, the prime ministers and the politicians today, they're manufactured. Like the Bushes, like Bush Jr., Bush Sr., the Clintons, they're manufactured. And it starts out that these guys have been to public schools, boarding schools, Catholic schools, and they've been paedophiled when they were young, and the state has control and mass hypnosis over them. And then what they do is they feed them with young girls and they get them in compromising situations so they become owned. And so that's
Yeah.
what all these politicians are. They're all being groomed. The globalists are grooming the politicians, and they're all pedos and they're all sex fucking cases and this, that, and the other. It's fucking shocking. Donald Trump called out Macron, saying that Macron has a very, very iffy past, and his whole relationship is very fucking questionable. And then I saw a video only yesterday of Trump meeting with Macron and saying, Macron, he's a very, very fine leader, and this, that, and the other. Oh my goodness. What a shower of shit these motherfuckers are.
Yeah. That's why I am like, yeah, this is interesting to watch. It's interesting, and it's also a bit like entertaining to watch the politics around the world and so on. And in the short run, maybe it's something good, but in the long run, this will eventually collapse anyway, no matter how we try to make um, it work, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So we've got our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and he's been absolutely scathing to Donald Trump. He was scathing before Trump got inaugurated the first time around, and he's been scathing ever since. And it's kind of like, well, fucking hell, what sort of wisdom do these guys have? You don't go shooting your mouth off about a potential presidential candidate just on the off chance that they may end up being the fucking president one day. What sort of a cunt is going to be calling blind a candidate? Because how embarrassing when the guy gets inaugurated, then it's kind of like, what are you going to say now, cunt? He's the most powerful president on the fucking planet. What are you going to do now, Starmer, you little faggot? And it's
Yeah.
completely ruined relationships between our country and America, completely shattered many business opportunities and all different sorts of stuff like that.
Hmm.
Fucking unbelievable, shocking. Anyway, you know, when we look at the Machiavellian tactics,
Yeah.
we can see how they're all lying, they're all deceiving, they're all backhanders, they're all becoming billionaires within a year of being the president or the prime minister. And everybody knows that, like Obama, he left office worth over $100 million. The wage for a president is only about $250,000 a year. And so you would think, well, the American people would just absolutely demand an investigation and want to know where the fuck has all this money come from. But that's
Yeah.
what Trump's doing, you see. Trump and Musk, that's what they're doing. They're investigating everyone. And
Yeah.
so it's starting to turn.
And they know also that will, like, okay, they go full on because the last time Donald Trump was elected, he backpedaled on a bunch of the things compared to now, which now it's happening a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
instead. So and I think that is the important part. And I think there might be a certain authenticity to them, even if they are not fully authentic, the leaders, so to speak. But looking at Elon Musk, which had his son taken away from him by the like LGBTQ movement and so on,
Yeah.
that's understandable. That really comes from him. Like he that's his revenge, so to
Yeah,
speak.
well, because the LGBT, they killed his son.
Yeah,
Um, because his son suicided due to all these complications involved in all this sex change and gender business and everything like that. And so Musk has got to be in his bonnet, and he wants revenge, and he's fucking taking it. And so
yeah,
Trump's taking it also. And so the thing is about the first inauguration of Trump was compromised by the powers that be. because maybe he was new to the fucking scene and this, that, and the other. But now he's much wiser, and he isn't being compromised anymore. He's facing everybody head on, and he knows that the massive levels of corruption, and he's going fuck it, because he believes he's invincible now because he didn't die when he was shot at, and so he believes that he's been put in that position of power by God, and he's working with that, with um, that notion, of protection. So it's empowering him. And now he's got Musk on the team as well, the richest man on the planet. Well, that's pretty empowering as well. So he's got a
Yeah.
great team of very, very powerful people, and he's doing things very, very quickly. And, it is looking, very, very good. And so lots of countries now are going to be taking some energy from what Trump's doing, because if America does it, well, fuck me, the whole liberalist agenda is just going to come crashing down. I just think it's over. It's never going to revive itself again now. The people saw it for what it was, a charlatan. It was fucking
Yeah.
phony.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the whole okay Machiavellian thing, and the Robert Greene thing. What about Nietzsche with good and evil? What's he been saying in that book? It's a long time since I've read it.
Yeah. Yeah, he criticized a lot of different stuff, but I can read one underlining which I have here, or another. As ever a philosophy begins to believe in itself, it always creates the world in its own image. It cannot do otherwise. Philosophy is this tyrannical impulse itself, the most spiritual will to power, the will to creation of the world, the will to the cause prima.
Right, the primal cause. Uh,
Yeah.
but okay, so I mean, if he's blaming philosophy for that, uh,
Yeah.
then what else do we use?
I mean, Nietzsche is always criticizing in all direction. He's even criticizing himself a lot,
Yeah, yeah,
So, and that's why I like Nietzsche, because he's so critical that he's the most honest of them. Many of the philosophers build upon like things that. They want to old things that they package in a new way, or even come up with things and say it is like that, but why would it be like that? You came up with that. uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, like I say, I think it's been about 10 years since I read Good and Evil. So I don't really have anything to get my teeth into unless you can remind me of something.
Yeah, I can read something else I underlined here. This is also a criticism of atomism. As regards to materialistic atomism, it is one of the best refuted theories that have been advanced, and in Europe there is now perhaps no one in the learned world too unscholarly as to attach serious signification to it.
Right. So
Yeah,
they're saying that the atoms and that sort of thing, they've been refuted.
yeah, and he said that back in 1800s.
Right. That was even before quantum physicists, even
Yeah,
before Max Planck announced that there's no matter.
yeah, and people still take things like at face value. Even if they would read this here in Nietzsche's book, they would think, yeah, atoms, they are real, they are something.
Yeah.
The building structure of everything, so to speak. But it already then it has been proven theories, because
Yeah.
everything in science is a theory uh, until Yeah, theory is built on good ground, so to speak,
Well, I
until
mean, yeah.
the comes up with something else. You know.
Well, that's right, and the whole world is built on theories. And so, I was listening to a video the other day, and if I look here, I don't know how to share my screen. Usually, it just says share down at the bottom, but I can't see that. Um, can you see where it says share on yours? Share screen.
Yeah, I can see. It's like a square
Yeah.
with arrow upwards. Should I click on that?
No, because I've got to share at my end. Oh, okay. So
It's to the hand
next to the hand, yeah.
and the
So
smiley face on the left of it and the hand to the right of it.
yeah, so that square with the arrow in it. When I click
Yeah.
on that, it says present now. It doesn't say share screen.
Ah, okay. It's like in Swedish here.
Oh,
It says
right.
it,
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the video, and you should be able to hear it. Tell me, just shout if you can't hear it.
yeah.
This is a physicist, a very popular one, German one. She's called Sabine Hossenfelder, and she is ripping an arsehole in the uh, scientific fraternity because she's saying they're all lying, they're all fabricating. All of the things they're going for funding, they know they're not going to find what they are speculating, but they're just doing it because they've got fuck all else to do and they need the money. Can you imagine this? This is what a very, very popular and well respected physicist has said. So I'm just going to play this for you. I don't know, maybe about 7 minutes. Can you hear that?
No, I can't hear anything.
Right. Okay. So I'll best come back then. Good God, why can't I share the freaking screen? Um, Well, basically, what she said was, she said that all the scientific fraternity is doing, they're conjuring up bullshit with all their equations and hypotheses, knowing that there's nothing going to come out of them, and they're spending millions of dollars, on like the Large Hadron Collider and this that, and the other, because they're going to do this and going to do that, and then they talk about all the Higgs boson, this that, and the all fucking hell, what of it? What does it mean to the world? All this stuff. And so, okay, so there may be some validity to the Higgs boson, because that was the missing particle, the God particle. But Sabine Hassenfelder is saying that, that there's nothing coming out of these other things when there's trillions of dollars and pounds and euros being spent on them. And so she's saying the scientific fraternity is a fraud. Now, I've
Yeah.
been saying science is full of shit for years and years. And people go, oh, well, science can do this and science can do that. Well, if there was no science, there wouldn't be a microphone. Okay, look, on that level, science is useful on the elementary level. But
Yeah.
when we look at science to try to solve the nature of the universe, they haven't got a fucking clue.
No, it's a religion. Exactly like a religion, it's a religion. Like
Yes.
a religion could also be said to be a science of the soul, so to speak, while science is a religion. So it's like same in a way.
Yeah, and so we've got that on one hand, telling the world now that all this science stuff is bollocks because we haven't got a clue what any of it is. Not a single clue. Then I watched a Netflix, well, part of a Netflix documentary, and they found this petrified skeleton. Um, uh, 1.5 million years old, or some fucking thing. It was old, and uh, it had feet like monkeys. Only this thumb thing wasn't anything like as pronounced as a monkey. It was much shorter. It was like they were losing it through the evolution, you know. But what they discerned from this petrified skeleton, it was actually rock. Because when you've got a skeleton that's been, in a cave, then they become filled with silica. Like a stalagmite. They become like a stalagmite,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
pretty
a
cool.
shulker or something like that. Shulk.
A what?
Like the minerals and so on.
Yes, yes, yes. And so
Yeah,
they call it petrified because petra is Greek for rock, and so
yeah,
it becomes rock-like. And so what they're saying is now that the theory that they've been bounding around in science for, I don't know, past 100 years or something, that apes came down from the trees and then they started hunting on the savannas in Africa. They're saying that is absolutely not true.
yeah,
Not the case. These creatures were still in the trees.
yeah,
They were standing upright. They were standing upright, but they were still in the trees and they still had their thumb on the foot. And so, even that part of the Darwinian evolution, they can't find the link, man.
yeah, yeah. I think it also is theory that is useful also to sell in. Like I often have said, it's like look where you actually come from. It's like subconsciously they telling you where you come from, like a dumb ape, you
Yeah,
know. Instead of maybe we come from something greater than that, you know,
yeah. Why don't they
come from the
capture?
gods and so on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, because look, we've got this whole Garden of Eden bullshit, which has got so much traction all over the world. But a much more feasible option is the Anunnaki thing. The
Yeah,
aliens came to Earth and they spliced Neanderthal man with their genetic DNA, and they created human beings because the human beings just appeared miraculously overnight, and they can't find any missing links or anything like that. So I'm positive that the Vatican have got all this different sorts of stuff in their vaults. And they know the true origin of the human beings, and that's why they have their telescope, which is called Lucifer, and they've got their own cosmology investigation, this, that, and the other. Why are they out at the stars like cosmologists and this, that, and the other if they think God fucking created the cosmos? Are they looking for God, orbiting around a distant galaxy? No, they're not. They're
mm,
looking for alien life. That's what they're doing.
yeah,
They don't believe in God. You see, look, I'm going to be making a video tomorrow, and it's about this whole thing being a human being is a complete and utter sham. There is simply nothing here which is real. There's no matter. There's no physical matter. It's just consciousness having a dream, and it's completely shocking to anybody that actually gets their head around it. Because you just go, "What the fuck is this place?" It's just
mm,
a fucking simulation or a hologram or a dream in the mind of God or a computer. It isn't what it's proclaimed to be. And this is what the Hindus said thousands of years ago. They called it Maya. It's not what
yeah,
you fucking think it is.
yeah.
Oh, bizarre, mate. It's all shockingly bizarre. And so I've been, having some right good rants these days, because I just get sick and tired of putting out this fantastic information and it falling on fucking dodos falling on deaf ears. And there's only ever one or two people that start to comment out of sympathy for seeing my frustration. And they're kind of like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Aaron. You know, I see a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But like out of 200 people, 300 people that watch my videos, where are the fucking people that got anything to say? What is wrong
Yeah.
with the world today?
Yeah. It is. It is really a pity. You know, you want to actually be able to go around people and be able to talk to them and see if they understand the different things and so on. But yeah, but I get amazed sometimes because sometimes I just meet intelligent people. You know,
Yeah.
like I met some dude at the gym um, a couple of days ago. Met him a couple of times. I saw he had like the Greek symbol of the Sparta here. Then we all of a sudden started to talk philosophy, and he was from Greece and so on, you know. And he was just 20 years old and
Well,
very knowledgeable. And
yes.
then there's another guy that I talked to at the gym. When I come up and talk to him with any book that is a classical book, he knows about the book and the history behind it and so on.
Well, yeah.
And he's only 23 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is those gold glimpses out there, and even one or two women out there here and there, you know.
Yeah. And so it really is perplexing. You would have thought. You see, the thing is about people on my channel that watch my videos. The vast majority of them, they're watching my videos because they're deeply, deeply troubled. I don't know what came up in their feed that led them to think that I've got the answers for all their psychological issues, like I'm some sort of fucking psychiatrist. Um, there is an answer to many of our issues, and that's introspection and
Yeah,
meditation and education and physical exercise and all this. But they won't fucking exercise. They won't educate themselves. They fill themselves with negative fucking thoughts, and they just wallow in their own self pity.
yeah.
That's, I'm sure, what the vast majority of these people are doing.
Yeah, that's horrible. Scrolling all day long with their mobile phones, and they just live in that, you know. I mean, even if I were sitting in a wheelchair, I will roll that
Yeah,
fucking wheelchair to the gym every fucking day, no matter what, you know.
yeah. Yeah, and so I'm always blustering about like my Christ-like nature, because being an enlightened fucking being, I'm looking around for any fucker else that's remotely enlightened, and everybody's petrified to even say yes or fucking no, and it's kind of like, come on, guys, you know. It's so surreal. It's too surreal. I've been doing this fucking thing 16 years, and yet I still
Yeah,
haven't attracted more than a handful of people. You're one of them. And even some of them out there that fancy themselves as being intellectuals and knowing it, they're just they can't come forward, don't want to come forward. It's not their thing. They don't want people to see. Whatever it is, a billion reasons. But this
yeah,
is why the whole world is like it is, because nobody speaks up. Nobody
yeah.
speaks their fucking truth. And so they just get milled around like the stupid cunting sheeple that they are. And they deserve everything they get.
Yeah, and also, you know, there's a lot of boomers and so on that like, oh, all of a sudden they like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, you know, but just 10 years ago they liked migration and all the other stuff. And they don't say anything about that. I was one of the dumb ones. Nowadays, if you have the mildest form of criticism towards Donald Trump or Elon Musk, they would be like, "Are you a fucking communist?"
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, these people, they're just sick followers. They just jump from bandwagon to bandwagon, whatever the sheeple are following, and
Yeah,
they immerse themselves into it with such ridiculous, over the top emotion. They can't think in the slightest bit for themselves, and yeah, they just form new religions all the time. They're forming new religions. And
yeah,
you look at that and you go, there is no hope for the human being. That's why the world is like it is. It couldn't ever be any other way. And so, a friend of mine, Patrick, he wrote a book about, you know, suggesting that the world could be self-sufficient, self-governing. We don't need the globalists. We don't need politicians and this, that, and the other. And we can all work in little farms and plots and this. I'm like, it's just a fantasy. It's just a
yeah,
freaking fantasy, man. The human being is absolutely ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. When we look at what human beings do, they do brilliant things, but the people that do brilliant things are 1 in a billion. Most
yeah.
certainly 1 in a million. And then you've got all the shower of shit underneath them. And it's kind of like, for fuck's sake, you can't be saying that the human being is intelligent. The human being en masse is not intelligent. In actual fact, it's vastly less intelligent than, fucking monkeys and apes and things like that, because they don't start war with each other. They don't create freaking viruses that fucking caused all different sorts of stuff. They're not involved in all that. And so, how can we say we're more intelligent than all we do is kill ourselves all the time? It's preposterous. It's sickening. It's pathetic. And every single day I'm retracting and retreating away from any semblance of wanting to have anything to do with this species. And I always proclaim that I'm not from here. I don't want anything to do with you fucking idiots. Really.
Mm.
You know, that, like you say, Andre, there are people that you can meet that you can be surprised, and you go, well, fucking hell, why is so far and few between?
Yeah. And uh, but it takes energy to build relationships with people also,
Yeah, well,
and you
it takes
want to
energy.
go. What do you say?
I was gonna say, it takes energy. It takes placement. You have to be in the same similar place. You have to have
Yeah,
similar interests. You have to, do all this. Can you imagine what it'd be like? It's going to be weird if I showed up in a cafe or bar in like Cambridge in Britain, where we've got one of these top universities in our country. If I just want to meet and hang out with individuals who have an education and who are intelligent, this, that, and the other. Fuck me, have I got to go hanging around like a fucking weirdo in one of these cafes so I meet these people? Where do you meet these people? How do you build up conversations with them? Because when you look across the board, anyone that's got anything about them, they're doing it online. And when you listen to them, you know that they're suffering the same shit. They're suffering the same shit. All the trolls, all the idiots, and this, that, and the other. And that's what
yeah,
they're dealing with.
yeah, yeah. And also, if you should intermingle with people, it's like, yeah, even if some of them are like intelligent and so on, you also need to deal with their ego at times that are coming forth. And some people are very able to manage their inner world and not get offended by stuff and so on,
Yeah.
there is one girl I met lately, which we are very similar in a way. And I don't feel that she gets offended by anything, but I wouldn't understand a person that gets offended by me anyway, because I sometimes I just don't fucking get it why people would get offended by things, you
Yeah,
know?
why they've got something to defend. Why
Yeah,
why they're defending their programs and their ego and their hollowness and all this different sorts of stuff. Yeah, look, philosophers have been philosophizing about this forever. Plato
yeah,
with Plato's Republic, speaking about how the world should be run. Then you got Nietzsche speaking about how the world should be run, and you got Schopenhauer, and for just about any other fucking philosopher, they look at the Shao of shit, which is the human being, and they go, it's all fucking wrong. It's wrong on so many fucking fronts. And then when you look at the symbology of Egypt, you go, well, they got it made. They knew where it was. You rule the motherfuckers with the crook and the flail. There's no other
yeah.
way. You beat them within an inch of their fucking lives. It's a step out of order. And if they fall down a fucking hole, then you grab them by the crook and you pull them out. And then you slap them on the arse with it and tell them get back to fucking work.
Yeah,
Because look, if you leave these creatures to their own devices, they very, very quickly get too big for their boots. They start to consider that they are powerful and they know something and they're important. You got to keep them in the factories. You got to keep them under the yoke. You got to let them know that they're not important. They mean nothing. They are just a fucking grain of sand on the beach. And keep them at the wheel. Keep them at the grindstone. Because if you don't do that, then they just get out of their station and they think that they're more than something. And that's why the whole world is governed into the 40-hour week, the 50-hour week, making sure you exhaust them, making sure you tire the cunts out, and then making sure you only pay them enough to have 2 weeks vacation per year. Because if you give them any more free time than that, then they're going to get all big and out, thinking that I'm going to fucking take more time off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, you just got to keep them on the yoke. And people may think that that's a very sad reflection to have on the human being, but I'm not the only one. Every
no,
single predecessor on the planet has come to the same conclusion because they've all had to do it. There's
yeah,
no other fucking way.
yeah. Yeah, they have the tendency to get smug and so on
Yeah,
when they are a little bit heightened,
yeah.
And I also know I have tendencies within me. I could become arrogant, but I also observe myself in different ways,
Hmm.
But especially when I have been in a dark place and at the same time have money,
All right.
it becomes like, yeah, I can do whatever I want, but
Hmm.
I do good things for me. But it's like, yeah, if you would kick me from this work, I can do whatever I want. I have the money.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we can get a bit snug like that when we're comfortable.
Yeah,
You see, being comfortable gives us options, and then we've
yeah.
got options. We don't give a fuck anymore, and we're not going to be conscientious. We're not going to be afraid of our bosses. We're not going to be doing the job properly because we don't give a fuck. I can walk out of here and I can get 10 jobs down the street on the way home. So therefore.
That's one important thing for me.
Mhm.
Always do the job properly, because that's I don't like if you work at a place and you don't do what you should do. That's a simple thing. But also, if there's a resentment towards the boss, it have screwed you over one time. You start to think like, and you're in a depression at the same time.
Yeah, you
But
see.
I have often to have the work ethics of not doing less, but always do more. instead, you know.
Yeah, if a job's worth doing, then do it properly, do it with integrity, because
Yeah,
you do it for yourself. Because if you can do a shit job and if you just want to skive, as they say, there was this one video once that went viral. It was some Indian guy, and he's saying, "When your boss is not there, do fuck all. When your boss not looking at you, do fuck all. You know, if you can get away with it, do fuck all." And that's the mentality of some people. They just think I'm not doing any fucking thing. And I've been in lots of building sites in my life, and mostly you get hardworking people because they like to do that sort of work, but
yeah,
you get some that as soon as the boss is not looking, they just lean on the fucking shovel, or they just have a
yeah,
fag, or they just pretend to go to the toilet. And I'm like, why don't you just do the fucking job?
yeah. That kind of mentality I always have had very hard, because I don't like that kind of people that does that, because they cannot be trusted by anyone. You
Can't be
know, they,
trusted. That's
they,
right.
that's the one that would be unfaithful to their wife if opportunity was given. You know,
Yes,
at any given time.
they just lack integrity, and so if they lack
Yeah,
integrity, then you can't trust them in any region. But the difficulty is what I do and what I say. I'm always trying to raise people up and to thrash them with the flail, as well as pulling them with the crook in a certain direction and thrashing them with the flail, and advising them all the things that you're supposed to do to get into the kingdom of God. Right? It's a metaphor, people. It's not really the kingdom of God. You're not going to be sitting on the right hand of fucking Jehovah or fucking Yahweh, whatever, right? This is the kingdom of God. If you want to get inside that, outside of your ego, outside of your suffering, outside of your pain, outside of your poverty, if you want to get into the richness and the expanse and the glory of that, then you have to work on the motherfucker. And like I was speaking today in one of the videos, like Jordan Peterson in these 12 rules for life for young men.
yeah,
The main emphasis is fucking make your fucking bed when you get out of it in the morning. And then if you've got any energy and inclination left, then tidy up a couple of socks in your sock drawer. Peterson even just says, just tidy up a couple of them. Because he knows what. Good God, he was a clinical psychologist for 25 years. He saw these fuckers.
yeah.
And when the main emphasis in his book was tidy up your fucking sock drawer, it's kind of what cunts are you dealing with?
Hmm.
What fucking fools are out there? It's shocking to me because I come from a very, very regimented family.
Yeah.
I grew up in effectively like an army camp. And there's no
Mhm.
way any of us were going to be allowed to lie in bed farting all day. No, we were up, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, the time we would get up for school. None of us were allowed to lay in bed of a Saturday or Sunday. No, you get up, you make your bed, you do your chores, and you get out the house and you do some stuff. But you got these kids, they're just like this all day long in the bed. They don't have a wash, they don't do nothing, they don't even tidy up the sock drawer. It's just shocking. I've got no time for it. I've got the greatest of resentment for it. And that's why my viewership is very, very low, because the amount of people like us, disciplined people, are exceedingly rare.
Hmm.
It's just unbelievable. It really is. Um, And so, you can get intelligent people. You can get people that, maybe PhDs and mathematicians and this, that, and the other. And yet they're lazy slobs. They'll never do a stroke of exercise in their lives. They'll never educate themselves about what they should eat and what they shouldn't eat. And maybe they'll smoke and, do all this sort of stuff. And they're slobs and you couldn't trust them. You couldn't depend on them if you needed them. If your daughter married one of these fools, you'd never want your daughter to go anywhere on holiday with a guy because you knew he couldn't protect her.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 that's fundamental, to be able to have the strength to protect. That's a thing that is ingrained into man, one would think, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I have my mechanisms naturally within me. Just like a month ago or something, somebody came running behind me. And he probably was in a hurry. I saw he was a Swati also. I did a low kick on his leg.
right.
But because you don't, if the street is broad, you don't come running
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
anybody.
yeah. So you got to do what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Britain, I was listening to our leader of the opposition, Nigel Farage, who it looks like he's going to be the prime minister in 3 years' time. Um, and so what he was saying, he's saying, look, we have got several million people in Britain on benefit uh, because they are suffering from depression. Depression is a pandemic. And
Yeah.
Lord knows, everywhere I go, I'm encountering people with anxiety and depression, and they're all on this, that, and the other. And it's kind of like, we never heard of that as kids.
No.
Never heard of it. Even as young adults, never heard of it. It really is a modern phenomenon. And so Nigel Farage is saying we seriously have to change the whole structure of our social paradigm, because we've got to bring some inspiration back into the human being to make them want to live. But you know what? When you look at the Nazi propaganda, when you look at all of those movies and all what was going on, every single one of those young people, they were all very, very happy, vibrant, and they had something to work for, something worth dying for.
Yeah.
And that was very, very intoxicating and powerful. And that's why Hitler managed to do what he did, because the people loved it. They were all inspired. They all felt a communion, a community, fighting for one thing, the fatherland. What could be better than that? Fighting for your dirt, your soil, your heritage. We've
Yeah.
lost all that. They've stripped that away from us, and they pile in all different sorts of foreigners from all over the fucking world, countries we've never even heard of, and our countries are like yours now.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a low trust society, and the mentality gets very cold in general. The native population's mindset also changes by that, and yeah, uh,
Everyone becomes insular. Now, prominent people are saying that they do not feel safe walking around the streets in their home country,
mm,
because everywhere they go, there are dark faces
yeah,
and hoodie types and miscreants and this, that, and the other. And so, what the world does, Andre, it allows itself, because the human being, is a little bit compassionate, a little bit forgiving, a little bit lazy, and they don't address things when it's all going wrong. And if you read about the onset of the Nazi Party, when you've got the Nazis walking around, driving around, and you've got some people that were switched on, and they're saying, I've got a bad feeling about this. These people walk around like peacocks. They're so full of their own importance, and they've got these big cars, and they've got guns on their hips, and all this different sort of stuff. And then other people will say, "Oh no, you mean so and so and so is always a very nice man. He is always a lovely man." And it's kind of like, look, he may appear to be a lovely man when he comes in your boulangerie and buys a baguette, but the mentality of him, who he's working for, something's going wrong, people. I'm telling you. But the fools can't see it. They didn't see it in Stalinistic Russia. They never saw it in Nazi Germany. They never saw it in fucking Cambodia. They just don't see it. They don't see it until
no,
it's too late. And they never learn by the mistakes. They never learn by history. They still the cons can't still can't see it now. But people like Jordan Peterson can. Why? Because he's an intellectual and he studied all this stuff. He's studied ancient history. He's studied communism. He's studied the Nazi Party and everything. And this is why he stood up so vehemently against the Canadian government when they tried to close him down and tried to tell him that he must use these pronouns. He said, absolutely, I am not fucking doing it because this is the first fucking step of tyranny. I fucking can see it coming, and he's perfectly right. But how many people can see that? And now he's going to be. I tell you what, I won't be surprised if he goes for fucking Prime Minister of Canada next, or at least America, because people would vote him in. They absolutely would vote him in because we
Yeah.
need people like that. We need people with integrity. We need people with vision. We need people, with high standards of morals and a belief in something higher. He's the perfect candidate, but he's doing that without being the president or prime minister. He's probably doing more globally than he could do in one country.
That started me to think if there's anybody like that in Sweden that could do anything. I have a very little hope for that, but I also am very. I don't know any Swedish YouTuber or anything like that because if it's like recommended popular in my country or anything like that, I I find it a bit like cringeworthy,
Right.
Um, there are a few Swedish YouTuber maybe that are good. I saw that one that actually are talking about the religion that has an English YouTube channel, but I heard he actually was Swedish. So, but besides from that, I don't know many from Sweden.
Yeah. And my channel has got the breakers on it. There's without a shadow of a doubt. This channel is about 2 years old now, and it's not even got 2,000 subscribers. It's got almost as many videos as it's got subscribers. I've got like 1,500 videos on this channel, and only
Mm.
1,900 subscribers. And so the powers that be don't want this to happen. They're doing everything in their power because if they did want it to happen, then they'll be promoting the things I am saying wide and broad, and everybody would be aware of it, and it'd be in everyone's feed. But it's not. It's not flavor of the month. It's not what they want to hear. They just keep feeding their Russell Brand bullshit, and all this different sorts of stuff. They just keep feeding the idiots that because it's not too dangerous. And yeah, I mean, we're under the yoke of this, measure of control. But I'm hoping that the back is going to be broken with it, with people like Trump, because Zuckerberg's come round now. Apparently,
Yeah.
he admitted in Congress. He said, "Yeah, I was beguiled. I was bullied, and I was beguiled, and I went with it because I couldn't be sure. I didn't want to be responsible for all these deaths and everything. Now, I'm telling you now, I will never do it again."
Mm.
Right. So when you got people like that, they're turned around. When you got people like Elon Musk who buys Twitter so it can't be done, well, there's lots of these changes coming about. And what we need is we need someone to buy Google. We need someone like Trump or Musk to buy Google and give it back to the people. That's what
Yeah.
needs to happen.
I heard that they. I don't know if it was a pressure from Elon Musk or something like that. That Google stopped having Pride Month.
Right.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah.
So it's affecting a lot of different stuff. And also, Elon Musk has gone out and talked about the South Africa and the killing of the farmers in South Africa and so on.
Right.
So all the things that I kind of looked into while I was younger, also like the South Africa thing and so on. Um, And when you talked about that kind of stuff back then, you were absolutely a full blown Nazi if you talked about anything like that,
Yeah.
even if you were that or not, you know?
Yeah, so yeah, things are turning around, and the thing is, we could say that oh, there's this been massive conspiracy to do this and to do that, but I think it's just as feasible that. Just like a Mexican wave, the wave flows this way, and
Yeah,
then it loses momentum, and then it starts to flow back this way because the cosmos has balance, it has equilibrium. It can't
yeah.
go on in one way indefinitely, always has to keep coming back. And then what I'm pretty sure what will happen, the liberalism will be completely eradicated, and then we'll have an era of 20, 30, maybe 50 years, and countries will become sovereign again. We'll build up our nations, we'll close our borders, and we'll bring our culture back, and this, that, and the other, and then it will start to fade again.
And we will be shipped in the brain.
Well, yeah, you know, lots of people will. Lots of people will have their hands up like this, and they'll be queuing up to do all that. And so
Yeah.
then we'll probably have breakaway societies because we'll have robots going around, we'll have cyborgs going around, and we'll have automaton human beings, and then we'll have spirited human beings. I've always said for a long time, I've been way ahead of my fucking time on this for a long time, Andre. We are not all human in the way in which we think or people tell us that we are. We are very, very different creatures from culture to culture, from era to era, from education to education, from a genetic disposition to genetic dispositions. We're very, very different. And, it's becoming exceedingly apparent to me now because how I'm seeing the world, and I'm seeing it with such clarity, and nobody else seems to have that clarity. And I'm like, why is it that I only seem to have that clarity? I know there's others out there, but they're doing their own thing, and they're writing their own books, and they're becoming millionaires doing whatever they're doing. But on this level, of this shit kicker level, where are the intellectuals? Where are the visionaries?
Yeah.
I would expect by now, having 16 years passed with me on YouTube, that somebody would have sent me an email. I'd love to talk to you. But you know what? Not one single person has ever invited me on their channel when I've
Mm.
invited hundreds on mine.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think maybe it's the authenticity in a way. Also, people like to have a fake thing. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I think that is one aspect.
Yeah, they're not authentic because you can see all these people on their channels, and they're talking, eloquently, intellectually about history and this, that, and the other. They don't talk about themselves. They never reveal anything about themselves.
Yeah,
And so I think I terrify people simply because I'm so open. And they know that when they come to speak with me, there's going to be no holes barred. I'm not going to be bashful about asking a question, approaching you, this, that, and the other. If you come to sit in front of me, you've got to be open like a fucking book. You can't just be saying that I can't talk about this and I can't talk about that. If that's the case, don't come to talk to me. And so they don't, because there's
yeah,
no authenticity. And that's it. It's absolutely terrifying to people. Fucking unbelievable. Because if you're authentic and if you reveal everything, you have to be immensely strong. You have to be
yeah.
immensely confident, and you have to be immensely able-bodied to be able to deal
Because
with potential
you
threats.
can't care about what anybody really throws your way,
No, people can
and
write whatever they want to write about me on the internet all over the world. I won't bat a fucking eyelid. I'll go well. Any news is good news. It's all
yeah,
promotion.
yeah. And I also think I haven't watched much of your videos lately. Uh, by the way, I think your shirt is very aesthetically pleasing.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I haven't looked at many of your videos lately. But I looked at the video a little bit yesterday, and you presented a lot of your different books and so on. You had on your shelf,
Yeah.
and I see you had like David Hume, you had John Locke, and you had Thomas Hobbes, and
Yeah.
that's like philosophers that is really good to read. I have only read about who they were a little bit, like John Locke was the founder of liberalism and so on, and tabula rasa, and also David Hume was like a um, empirist from Scotland, I think,
Yeah.
and and also Thomas Hobbes was the like he who's was talking about the wild man and so on, or something like that in the
Yeah. Well, this book
society.
I've got is called Leviathan.
Yeah, I've heard of that
Leviathan, yeah,
book before. Yeah,
he's kind of like a sea monster, but he was
yeah,
meaning it to be more like the monster potential to rise up in society, and he was speaking about the English Civil War. With Oliver Cromwell and things like that, and how these things come about,
yeah.
and how not to treat your society and this, that, and the other. Um, so yeah, all this stuff. I mean, I've read an enormous amount of stuff. I've left um, a library which would be the treasure of any intellectual. We're literally about 1,000 philosophers and psychoanalysts. I had 20 books on Sigmund Freud. I had 10 books on Carl Jung. I had almost the whole fucking collection of Plato's fucking dialogues and this, that, and the other. Oh my god, I left all this stuff when I left Bulgaria.
But but
Um,
but but the interesting about owning all those books is just not that you own them and have read them. You actually have thought about all those kind of stuffs within that book, that realm, and so on. And yeah, I mean that's actually authors that everybody should at least know a little bit about,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's fundamental to actually know a little bit about it. But I always find it very interesting, because then I look at my bookshelf. I have some books behind me and some here and some in my wardrobe, um, and that's other books, and maybe some are similar. But how much there is to engage the mind with, it's endless,
yes.
and yeah,
What I always used to do, and I still do, when I'm
yeah,
reading the book, you see, with old books, when you're reading books like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the people that were writing these books were intellectuals, and they were writing for intellectuals. They weren't writing for the muggles in the street. And so they would be quoting Latin, they would be quoting French, and they wouldn't put an interpretation there. They'd expect everybody to fucking know it because everybody took French and Latin
yeah,
at school. And then they'd mention this author, that author, and another author, and they'll be assuming that you knew the full works of these people, right? Because you were educated. And so what I did is when I was reading Carl Jung and Freud and everything, every time they mentioned somebody, even down to Jane Austen, one of the British writers of the 1800s, I would have to go out and buy every fucking book about Jane Austen that she wrote. I would have to go out and buy Charles Dickens. I would have to go out and buy Arthur Conan Doyle. I would have to go out and buy fucking Lewis Carroll. I have to go out and buy them all because I needed to know what all these people knew, what they were talking about. And so my repertoire was very, very broad. And
yeah,
then, when I was reading books and they'd mention this author, they'd mention that author, they'd quote this fucking bit in French or Latin, everything, I'd have a good handle on all that stuff. And,
yeah,
this is what I'm saying about my book. Now you've read my book, and you got on, well with it,
yeah,
because you are broadly read, and you have an interest in all this sort of stuff. But for anybody that isn't broadly read, they read my book, they're just going to think, yeah, it's just this and it's just that. When in actual fact, you could read the Bible like that. When I first read the Bible when I was 27 years old, it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know what Jerusalem was. I didn't know what Judea was. I didn't know what the Philistines were. I didn't know any of that stuff. But by the time you build up your knowledge and repertoire of all this sort of stuff, then all of a sudden you get a massive three-dimensional picture. And so the people that are reading my book, if they're young and if they're not experienced and if they're not well read, well, they're not going to get too much out of it, and that's it. But at least it's a start. And I say to people, I say, fucking underscore something like you did. Write something down, then we'll talk about it. Because
Yeah.
every single line in that, like we did when we spoke, I can go on forever, about these things because there's so much depth to everything. And I suppose I'm a frustrated intellectual, to be fair. But not only am I an intellectual, I'm a spiritualist as well, and I've experienced spiritual phenomenon, and a lot of it,
Yeah.
which the vast majority of people haven't had. And so my state of consciousness is out there. It's out there, fucking out there.
Yeah, and you saying those things, and that is like you say, but many people will like, yeah, he's just being arrogant, he's just being that and that. But you actually say, yeah, I am like that, and I have read that, and that is absolutely true. What you say about yourself, that's not something to say he's arrogant, but maybe it's an opportunity for somebody to think that, oh, maybe I could read those literature or have those experiences and so on.
Yeah,
Because speaking to you, I know that you are not arrogant like an asshole or anything like that,
yeah,
and that is what I don't know if I interpret people the right way, but I recognize that they can be very sensitive, feel easily belittled and so on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sensitive, easily belittled, easily smited. And you see, in this book, Andre, I read just a small section um, in one of my videos. So if you get time, I don't know, the last three videos that I put up, very powerful videos. I'm really on
Mm.
the ball these days. But I'm reading this. And this just says that how people they worship their opinions, they are imprisoned by their own dogmas, and they will slit your throats to defend their dogma. And woe betide you if you smite them on any of their fucking belief systems because they're so precious to them. This was 150, 200 years ago. And, he was saying that when people used to carry swords and guns, if you said something about someone's belief, they'd ask you for a duel out on the fucking village green. And he's saying the stupidity of the fools is absolutely incredible. And it doesn't matter whether it's religious dogma, it doesn't matter whether it's Scientology, it doesn't matter whether you're so embedded in your own dogma and your own doctrine and your own belief system, whatever it is. If you are fixed about it, you're a fool.
Yeah, it's like often people can uh, um, interpret one in the wrong way and say like, yeah, everybody is allowed to believe what they want, everybody is allowed to have their opinion, and while I don't have said that anyone is not allowed, I just said this is what I think about that. I
Yeah.
did not say that anybody doesn't are allowed to have their own opinion and beliefs and so on. but
Yeah,
they not properly thinking, and are not properly listening to what the words which is said
yeah,
means at
yeah.
all, you know.
Yeah. And so, what needs to happen really, if the human race is going to continue to grow instead of slump down into a cesspool of ignorance and inactivity and all the rest of the shocking facets of the human being? If we are going to raise up and respect one another, then it has to start at ground zero. It has to start fundamentally at a very early age in our schools. We have to start learning about human psychology. That's one of the first subjects we must fucking learn. Instead of about how to pack fucking chickens and how to fucking plumb pipes and shit like that, we need to know about human psychology. We need to know what's going on in the brains and in the bodies of our fellow men. And then we need to, have some sort of moralistic standpoint. We have to have a level of compassion and understanding. We have to realize people's differences because, I'm only just starting to really get into the differences in the human being now after all these years, because nobody's ever spoken about it and nobody's still speaking about it today, Andre. There's just one or two people around the whole world which are saying, we're not all the same. No, 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 we are all the same. How dare you? How dare you say, a difference between this person, that person, Chinese and African? Look, it's evident to me. You got a Chinese person who's 4 foot fucking tall. You got an African person who's 7 foot fucking tall. There's quite an evident difference. It's self-evident to me. And if you're going to say that there's no difference in the fucking mentality either, then you're fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And so, we know that it is said that the average IQ for the African continent is about 80 because they
yeah,
haven't had this ingrained education through years and years and years. They've just been bush people. So, what do you expect? But people in China and Japan are a whole different ball game.
yeah.
And the
They
Jews,
are die.
yeah, a massive difference. Look at the average IQ for a Jew, they reckon it's about 160. And so it's double
What?
160.
Oh, is that really so?
140?
Nah, I think that would be far fetched. Jordan
Really?
Peterson's IQ is like 152 or 54 or something like that.
52? Well,
Yeah.
what's the average in Sweden?
99 is the average in Sweden.
99.
And I think it has sunken to 98. The first time I looked it many years ago, it was at 100. So it have fallen. So 99, 98, and that's very. I mean, average IQ is horrible. You
Yeah,
cannot do
well,
that with that.
because it's shocking. I would think certainly that the average a studious Jew would be about 140, simply because, Andre.
Because Singapore is like very high as well, and I think they are like 106.
Right. Okay.
And Italy is I think it's a country that have the higher, about the higher here in Europe, so to speak. But yeah,
Yeah. So if Africa's 80, if Europe is 100, then Jews they have to be 120. Got to be minimum of 120.
I think they are about like the Asians, but it's this really intelligent Jews. They come generally from Ashkenazi
Yeah,
Jews. It's
yeah,
not like the whole population of Jews.
yeah. Interesting. So Trump reckons that the vast majority of people that he's got working in Elon Musk's Gog have an IQ of 160.
That's high, yeah.
That's fucking high. And
Yeah.
there's hundreds of people. So they're out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But
I
Trump
know.
exaggerates a lot.
Yeah, he can do that. But I think he's well on saying that they have an high IQ. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, and we take Theodore Kaczynski. You know, he was like the
No.
Unabomber.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, he had 168 IQ,
Wow.
but he was batshit crazy and very intelligent as well. You know.
Hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just difficult to work out. So, the last video I put up, I put a very short video, and I'm announcing that I'm going to take um, some sort of therapy. I've asked for a Jungian psychologist
Yeah,
because I want to talk to people about post-traumatic stress. But I'm going under the guise of post-traumatic stress because that's one thing they recognize, but I'm
yeah,
very quickly going to be moving on to other things because I
yeah,
want to see, if it. I can't imagine it, to be fair, whether they're intellectual and they're well read and they know about the human mind. I'm thinking that they're just going to be cognitive behavioral therapists. They're going to be no older than 35 years old. They're going to be on fucking a crap shit wage. And that's all the British government is churning out these days.
yeah,
Gone are the days of fucking Freud and Jung.
yeah. I don't either think that there is much to expect from a psychologist nowadays.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you can get a hand on some Jungian psychologist, then that would be
Yeah,
amazing.
because they are out there. There's not many of them,
Yeah.
but they are out there, and
I
so
think only we have the one in Sweden.
wow, only one Jungian psychologist.
Yeah,
Oh my
my
god,
brother said that. Yeah,
right? What's the
because
population of Sweden?
10 millions.
Wow, that's tiny.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, we got 65 or 70 million. America's 330 million. What's Germany? About 80 million.
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. It's got a lot. So, okay, well, we've done an hour and 35 minutes, so probably wrap this one up. So, is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to finish off on the last 5 minutes or something, Andre?
No, I think we are gone through some great conversation today. Yeah,
Yeah. And so,
and
if you do, I'm gonna say,
yeah,
if you do get the time and an inclination, then check out my last three rants, and see what you make of them. See
yeah,
if you can glean where I'm coming from. See if there's any areas that you're not sure. You think, where's he coming from with that fucking sort of stuff? Because that'll be interesting, to get some feedback on that.
yeah.
Um,
Feedback in next video or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, be-
Because often when if I look at the video, I know in the past, when I looked at one of your videos, I could have so much in my mind to write that I just skipped writing just because I had too much to write. It would become immensely much at certain points in my life, you know.
yeah. So
So I just, and sometimes I just started to write something, and then I went to the gym. Something had happened with the site or something, and then all which I have written just went away, you know,
right.
stuff
So
like
when you
that.
start watching some of my videos, you get lots and lots to write about.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, ideally, I want to speak to more people about the book because the book is there. It's all written, and all people need to do is write it and highlight stuff, and then make some notes separate to that. Now, there's been quite a few people who said they've done that, and eventually they'll get round to talking to me, and I'm hoping that's going to happen. But yeah, if you can do it with a video, and then while it's fresh in your mind, look. If you listen to a video, you can just write highlights down to the main subject matter with a few
yeah,
lines. You don't have to write extensively because if you write the highlight, you'll remember the rest of it.
yeah,
And so you write the highlights down, you write 10 bullet points down or something like that, and then you speak to them the next day or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, well, in the interim, then, Andre, enjoy being you, and we'll talk again soon, yeah?
Yeah, we do.
Alrighty then. Hasta
All
la
right.
vista.
Hasta la vista. Bye.
Cheers, Andre.